You're listening to
Catholic Sprouts,
the daily podcast for Catholic kids that strives to plant seeds of faith. Hey there, Sprouts. Today is Friday, November 9th, 2018. It is also the feast of the dedication of St. John Lateran Church in Rome. This week on the Catholic Sprouts podcast, we have been talking about saints. We talked about what a saint is and how we are all called to be saints. We talked about the canonization process, which is how the church identifies and recognizes those that are saints. We also talked about some confusing things about saints, like whether we should carry a picture or have a statue of a saint, and the fact that we pray with the saints, not to the saints. Finally, yesterday we talked about patron saints, and I hope that you are well on your way to identifying who your special patron saint will be. Today, we're going to wrap up our discussion of saints by talking about feast days, days where we celebrate and recognize particular saints. Now, before we dive into this, I want to let you know that there is no reason why we need to celebrate every single saint. In fact, that would probably be impossible. By last count, there are over 10,000 saints and blesseds in our Catholic faith. 10,000. Now, I know that might seem overwhelming, but doesn't that also seem incredible? That there are 10,000 people we know lived good and holy lives and have performed miracles on this earth from heaven. So no, you don't have to celebrate all or even most or even a lot of the saints, but it is important to recognize the saints. Now, why is this important? Each saint has a feast day, and it's important that we recognize a few special saints because recognizing them gives us the opportunity to remind ourselves of the holy lives they lived, of the wonderful things that God was able to do through them. Because, of course, a saint is our advocate in heaven to bring our prayers before God, but they also have left a beautiful example behind them. They are a person that despite the odds, despite the temptations, and despite the natural sin that we all are born with, they lived a holy and good life. And we should not only look to them for help from heaven, but we should look to their life here on earth as a roadmap to our own holiness. It is also good to celebrate saints on their feast days because it keeps them as our close friend. Just as we would want to celebrate our friend's birthday, our sibling or our parent's birthday, we want to celebrate the feast day of our saints because we love them. Now, here are some ideas for celebrating a saint's feast day. First and foremost, I would take out a statue or a picture of the saint so that you can feel close to them. Also, I encourage you to read some of their story. Remind yourself of their biography and how God worked through them. It's also important to turn to them in prayer, to thank them for their example, and to show them how much you trust them by placing your needs and your petitions in their hands so that they can bring them to God. And finally, because feasting to me does mean a feast, it is a great thing to really celebrate your patron saint by celebrating. Have a big meal, toast to your saint, pray to them together, maybe even eat some foods that remind you of their life and their journey, but really celebrate them. And so, Sprouts, here's my challenge for you today. I hope that yesterday you identified your patron saint. If you're still working on it, don't give up. Keep looking. What I want you to do is spend a few minutes finding that saint's feast day. Find it and mark it on a calendar, whether it's your family calendar or the planner that you use for school. But write it down. Maybe it's 6 months from now. But really make an intention of doing something special on that day to celebrate your friendship with this beautiful saint. That's it for Catholic Sprouts today. We'll be back tomorrow, but until then, continue to grow in your faith and truly sprout into the beautiful creation that God intended you to be. And finally, a quick heads up to the parents. As we work our way through November, we of course are looking forward to December and Advent. Here on the Catholic Sprouts podcast, we will be spending all of Advent exploring the Jesse tree, meaning we will be talking about many of Jesus' ancestors as a way to prepare our hearts to welcome him at Christmas. If you would like to explore the Jesse tree even further at home with your family, I encourage you to look into a beautiful new resource. It's a devotional book for Catholic families that explores the Jesse tree. It takes the stress off of you, gives lots of biblical context, and also is designed to truly teach children about the amazing plan that God has had in place for our salvation from the very, very beginning. To explore this book and the ornaments that go with it, head to DoSmallThingsWithLove /Jesse-Tree.